welcome to another video. I'm your personal funky sim pilot. My name is Arkady Gidzenko. I will be your captain for today's flight. Today's flight will take us on another real-world operated route by Southwest Airlines. This time taking us from Tennessee to Texas. We'll be flying from Nashville to Austin. So we're flying the 737-700, which is the equipment that is used on this flight as well. This is the PMDG 737-700. We're using GSX real-world time and real-world weather, and also the Airsoft simple traffic tool. So we are parked at the gate and ready to go. There have been some incidents on the last flights where both with the 737, this one, but also with the RJ-70, where during the cruise the cabin altitude warning would appear. I've looked into it a little bit when I was at work, so I cannot really dive into it. And it looks like it may have something to do with the lead air system not being active and the packs not being active. So I was thinking to maybe, before I just make this my routine, to maybe just not turn on the packs, at least deliberately, and then to see if that message comes, and if it then comes, if it helps if we turn on the packs. I don't know if that's going to work out or not. Anyway, let's hop onto the flight deck. Get a little bit of juice in this plane. And let's see, this is the... Yeah, we'll have a look at that later, because this is actually the newer MCB tile. And I think I'm used to the other one, I like it. So I will to install that. So, batteries on. I can turn on the ground power. Logo lights on, anti-collision lights on. So let's load up some passengers. Or why don't we start with the catering service? Let's do that.
Catering vehicles are on their way.
Alright. I'll take it off your hands for nothing. Right, so some things appearing up and I don't know what's going on. There was actually a problem when loading the aircraft and I had to basically restart the flight, so curious if there's actually a problem now. If that's the case, because this is never, I don't think I ever see this, and the FMD message there. We'll see if we run into any problems. The PMDG setup, and I believe it would be options. Let's try equipment. Let's call out airspeed alive. Always like that. I don't know where the option is. There is an option in here somewhere where you can select the old school style FMC. Well, these are the only options. Equipment, display, field features. Well, that is actually the first one. That is MCP type. Looked at it like 100 times. Let's look at this. There you go. Let's use this one. So the catering vehicles have finished. Let's get some passengers.
Boarding requested.
Let's also get our flight plan. Let's populate the weather. Course index 80, cruising flight level 380, wind 245, 109, average ISA deviation plus 007. And the fuel.
Do you want to board crew?
Yeah, both.
Pilot's boarding starting.
Thank you. And then the fuel, block fuel, 8.8. And let's say 2.3 or 2.4 for the final reserves.
Crew boarding starting.
What did they call this gate? Gate 29. Gate 29, see if that's recognized. Not in database.
Your crew has boarded. Passengers boarding starting.
Should I call it here? Charlie 22 would look like. Doesn't really say actually, but no, that would be Charlie 22. Was this Charlie 23 then?
Welcome on board. Good afternoon.
Parking gates. So where are we then? Alright, so that is the, well, basically first or second. It's actually standing in between if you look at it, right? So that's a little bit funny.
This way.
I'm thinking that would be Charlie 23, doesn't matter too much. So let's just go ahead and enter that, see if it recognizes. Charlie 23. But it is recognized, so we can put that in. And sometimes, you know, obviously the adjacent gates will have near the, you know, same location in this format anyway.
Good afternoon.
So set payload to fuel, select the route.
Good afternoon. Welcome on board.
We got 8.8 kilograms, or 8.8 thousand on the other side. So let's turn on the seatbelt sign. Load. So activate and execute. Departing. So what is our flight plan? That should be down here. 20 center. The Daniels 3 departure. 20 center. Daniels 3. And then we have the 2D6 for 36 right. So ILS 36 right, 2D6. And we got WINDU, I believe. WINDU is in there as well. So we can select position WINDU and execute. And now we should have the entire flight plan in here. After takeoff there's vectors, so probably direct to Arkady. We'll look at that in a bit. So the performance page, can get our fuel from here. Or this is a fuel weight, so planned fuel here says 8.9, so let's just do that as well. Guess that can't hurt. I believe we had 2.3 for the reserves. Cost index 80. Please click. That would greatly help with the timing. Cruising 380. Looking at this, it appears to be high. I'm not really sure. Cruising wind was 243. No. What's the cruising wind? 245. I remember there was a 109 in somewhere, but let's have a look. 245, 109, and then +7. We do not need the +7, so we can just execute this. Transition altitude is 18,000. Let's check the reserves, and the cost index should be 80. Cost index 80, 380, 8.8 or 8.9. Let's make that 8.8, and then 2.3 will be okay, I guess, for our reserves. So let's change it into 8.8. That's the N1 limit. Why do we no longer hear the passengers boarding? The door closed? Actually, I don't think this door opens, does it? So anything happening in here? Looks like it. Looks like they're not sitting in their seats. Something happened. I tried to update GSX, but you can see that GSX was saying it needs an update. I don't know what the hell is wrong with that. Okay. Performance tool. 20 center. This is giving us TO47. It's an interesting one. 47. Giving us 90.3. And that again is not the same. That was a flat one setting. The runway length is 79ers. (135) V1, we rotate 137, V2 140. Those are the same numbers, so we can keep them for sure. And that's the setup, the FNC. But yeah, I noticed when we were doing this setup, that all of a sudden the sounds from the passengers boarding all of a sudden appears to have gone. Not really sure what's going on there. Let's set a squawk code. Start up our APU. We are on the emergency exit lights. So the packs are off. So let's leave them off and see if the aircraft will start whining. I think, I must admit, I sometimes totally don't think about the packs, so I think I turned them off less than 50% of, turned them on less than 50% of the time. So, but I'm not really sure, but it's interesting, small steps. So let's go to 380. And landing elevation, I believe, was around 500. Airport elevation, could make that 550. Alright, so APU should be available. Let's turn on the APU generators. And let's also turn on the APU bleed. Now we can disconnect the ground power. Not sure if you actually turn it off like that. And let's disconnect from the aircraft. So that would be ground connection. Ground power release. So I'm just curious if we see any passengers down. And now actually we do. I'm not really sure what is up with that. Okay. So here we got the nose of the door lights, and so boarding has finished. So I guess we can get ready for pushback. Let's have a look at where we are and how we're getting where we need to be. So runway 20 center. That is this one. Well, that's quite convenient. It's not too far at all. So we will push back nose to the left. And then we'll follow Yankee, Tango 4, cross runway 31, stay on Tango 4 and then take a right onto Sierra 7, and that's where we'll be. So for the pushback, tail to the right, nose to the left. So let's see. Prepare for pushback and departure. Let's remove the chocks. Got parking brakes immediately. That was definitely some drama.
Captain, we are ready for pushback.
Would be nice if that door to the rear. There we go. Door management, close all.
Departure checks completed. Bypass pin inserted. Locking gear.
I love to see how that. I love how to see how that nose is a big lift. So what was it? Nose to the left and tail to the right.
Release parking brakes, please.
Oh, for cold hard cash, I will. Alright, let's release parking brakes.
Commencing push. All engines clear. Start at will.
Right, so we're going to wait a little bit longer with that. Let's turn on the flight directors on both sides. We can set this to, we'll do that, well, let's finish it now. Now that we started it. So engine number 2. Start. Okay, so flight level 380 set. Could get a runway heading, I guess. 20 center, 201.
Please set parking brakes.
Okay, the parking brake.
Waiting your confirmation for a good engine start.
And before we go, let's also have a look at the fuel page to see why that is yellow. Maybe just because it's almost empty, but I don't know. And it says config. That's actually more concerning. I don't think there's an issue or anything, a major issue, but nonetheless, let's put that back on continuous. This one goes to ground and ignition.
Cockpit to ground. We have a good engine start. You can disconnect.
Unlocking gear.
The nose is lowered again. The GPWS warning is gone. Set in up earlier. Oh, I don't know, maybe it's normal after all.
Tow truck disconnected. Bypass pin removed. Left is clear, right is clear.
Flaps, green light, stabilizer trim. Alright. So the trim setting was 6.72. I hate when it does that, man. Totally don't understand what's going on there. Somewhere around there, maybe a little back. And our flaps, 1. Auto brake to reject the takeoff. Verify the takeoff speeds, 135, V1. So V1, 135, V rotate, 137, V2, 140. Turn on traffic on the nav display. So the electronic wind bag, I'm just going to call it for today. (200) 12 knots, gusting up to 21 knots. 10 statute miles visibility, broken clouds at 4,300, overcast at 5,500. Okay. Where are we? Temperature 21, dew point 11, altimeter 2976, that's the one we need. And that should be on both sides. Okay. I can turn on the auto thrust, or at least orbit. And let's just put in 250 knots. Flex page here. I guess let's probably good to go. Let's have a quick look. So we'll taxi out of here via Yankee, then left on Tango 4, then we cross the runway 31, continue on Tango 4, and then we take a right, not on Kilo, but on Sierra 7 for the holding point, and then we're out of here, man. Okay, so let's check a couple of things. Turn on the main generators so the APU can be turned off. I will now turn off the APU bleed, but I will not turn on the packs. And hopefully we're going to get that warning and see if it helps, then turn on your packs. But I don't know how it works. If the damage is done, you know, the aircraft starts becoming like vindictive and, you know, you never know these days. You know, the aircraft may identify as a bitch, so. So parking brake released. I believe it's not this one to the left, but the next one. Looking at this chart, there is nothing actually to the left of us, same as here. Let's not be rude, let's just get back onto the yellow line. What do you say? Ground speed 12 knots, 13 knots, that's fine for this turn. We do have traffic on the taxiway. So crossing runway 31. And that gets rid of the yellow that we saw there below. So I just turned on the center fuel pumps as well. So this will be our holding point. Parking brake set. So let's turn on the T-gas. And before we get going, a couple of things. Let's zoom in on the nav display. Let's actually first zoom out to get some idea of what we'll do. Let's maybe get this heads-up display out. Oops. Where is the click spot? That will be there. So let's turn on the landing lights. Let's see. Position strobe and steady. And I'm guessing that is all. So before we start rolling, have an actual look at what the departure is supposed to be like. So basically we're being factored out, so we can just go direct to BROBB. Obstacles for takeoff, obstacles notes, SID requires takeoff minimums for standard minimums. Okay, that's nothing too interesting, I guess. Alright, so we can just go direct to BROBB. So can we maybe override vector here? Looks like it. So it's gonna look pretty. So that's what we'll do. So we're otherwise set up. So let's release the parking brake. And let's get into character. Quite windy, as you can see right there, and there's some even worse gusts. But you know, like a heavy headwind is very nice for takeoff. Right, so let's keep it like this. So let's use the heads-up display for a change. I'll never do that. I think we're pretty much set up. All we need to do is start the timer. And I'm guessing that's there, the chronometer. So let's set the N1 to around 50%. And we set the takeoff thrust. And then we'll just see how long we'll fly the. We'll see how long we'll fly the departure hand flying. This is staying nice in the middle.
E1. Rotate.
Rotate.
Positive rate of climb.
Gear up. And nose a little bit high. That's a bit better. And come our turn to the right. Nose still a little bit high. Flaps can come up. with the acceleration altitude. So the nose goes down a little bit, allowing the aircraft to make more speed. So that was Tennessee. Now let's get ourselves to Austin, Texas. I wrote a nice song once about a girl who's now living in Texas. Okay, so that's some really shitty weather. And I believe in this aircraft we may have to turn on the anti-icing ourselves. So let's turn on the autopilot. PMD is on. Let's get rid of the heads-up display. PMD on. N1 LNAV VNAV speed. Can turn off the runway turn-off lights and the taxi lights as well. We'll keep the passengers strapped in for a little bit longer. So the flights through some really wet gas. I'm glad to see it worked to turn on the center fuel pumps as well. I don't always need them for the flights that I do, but there was just a little bit of fuel in there. Since the fuel pumps were not on, we can turn them off now. It's probably going to display the same. It would turn yellow, and it said something with config there. But I wouldn't know when that would appear, so let's not break it. So let's just put them back on. Well, it was good to see that actually helped. So 10,000 feet, we can turn off the landing lights. And usually this is also the altitude where the nose will start to drop a little bit. As you can see, we're no longer climbing at 10 degrees, but more like 7.5 degrees or so. Let's turn off the seatbelt sign, and the passengers can roam around the aircraft and paste their boogers onto other people's chairs. So we're going direct to Arkady, and that will be 11 miles. We can now increase the range as well on the nav display. So cruising altitude will be flight level 380. We do have a little bit of headwind, and we're getting quite close to the maximum there for some reason. Check the flaps. The flaps are up, and so is the lever. And one. So 18,000 feet will be our transition altitude. We'll then go to 902 inches Mercury. And that will actually be our top of descent. Or the top of climb actually, not the top of descent, the top of climb. But the planned top of climb is a little bit further out. Although it should be following VNAV, so we'll just let it do its own thing. So 14,000 feet coming up. We have a look outside the window. Oh, we're definitely going somewhere. We're going there quite fast. So it's weird. Sometimes we do see the passengers, sometimes we don't. So today, Gidzenko has a little bit of a mind of its own. Like one of my friends calls it the ghost in the machine. $15,700 coming up here. So our engines are looking good. So we're on our way to DANLS in about 48 miles. And it almost emptied the center fuel pump, or the center fuel tank there. I'm thinking this is actually, I mean I did see it go up earlier. But at least I thought I saw it go up. But what do I know? $17,300. Alright, so let's switch to standard pressure. So the landing lights are turned off and have been retracted. The runway turn-off lights, taxi lights are off, APU is off. The passengers have been released. At low pressure here for one of the center fuel pumps, I'm thinking. Oh, fuel pumps, center, left, right. Oh yeah, that is pretty much empty. So we turn those off, no longer need them. So I don't think I ever flew to Austin, Texas, at least not to not as far as I can remember, on the channel, or off the channel for that matter. Yeah, good news. It's exactly what I wanted. So the experiment is, we're now getting the warning for the cabin altitude. So we set the cabin altitude for 38,000 feet, which is our cruising altitude, which is what you're supposed to do. But what you should also do, and I sometimes seem to forget, to turn on the packs. I'm wondering, if I turn the packs on, the message will probably not immediately go. But at least we can click the alt horn cutout. So at least you won't hear it. But I'm hoping the cabin altitude will change now. Since we are now using air to help with the pressurization. Otherwise we could probably just like paint and everything, and not pretty. We do still have a warning light, but also we can see the both the differential pressure and the cabin altitude are now, or actually just differential pressure that is changing. Cabin altitude is right here. So I'm by no stretches of any imagination am I authorized to to share any knowledge about these things, because these are I never really quite understand them. Get some sort of feeling for it, but you know, that's not enough. So that's why it was interesting that this happened twice. The last, I believe it was yesterday, on 2 different flights. And 2 different aircraft as well. So I just looked up something today when I was working, so I cannot really take in the information and study it. But that's what I got from it. That you either it will take air from the APU bleed, or it will take air from the engines, which is basically your packs. So put that on auto. Could maybe have some fun and see what happens if you put it on high. I mean, would it like expedite, you know, the process? I think around 8,000 the cabin altitude differential pressure. I'm confusing myself. I'm going to put this back on auto. And we could maybe also see if we can cycle by going to manual and then back to auto again. But we do still have the warning message there. So maybe it doesn't go away, I'm not really sure. Would be interesting to find out. There's some things you can do up here as well, but I'm never sure which one does which, so you can open the valve or close. Either probably, so let's see, put up manual for a second. We do still have the warning there. If we open it, basically it fills up. No clue what I'm doing. Put it, oh wait, keep it on manual then. Let's put it somewhere in the middle, just to test things out. No clue. And I don't know, you know, maybe it like needs to take a little bit. Probably also good to check here. But this is definitely dropped. So let's see what happens. So we dropped the differential pressure. So if we close the valve, what's happening then? Just slowly climbing up. But so that's just doing its thing there, so we can maybe check every now and then. Fortunately, it is not simulated that we get a black screen or something, you know, like we black out. But it annoys me a little bit, you know, it's like a lack of control, so I'm like, I want that fixed. Alright, so 25,000 feet. Okay, so we're now on our way to Memphis. And that will be 97 miles, flight level 380. And we're slowly getting there. We do still have the cabin altitude. And what's happening here? We're now at 5,000 differential pressure, and the cabin altitude has dropped. I think that's okay. I believe the cabin altitude is okay around 8,000. Differential seems to be getting fairly high, but let's just keep an eye on it. I think we got it, it's gone. That's cool. Message gone, cabin altitude. So if we now put it on auto, oh, that's a shame. This is usually what I get when I don't fix it. What's it saying here? Auto fail. Okay. So we'll have to keep it on manual now, I guess. That's messed up. Because I'm not totally sure what I'm doing. do not want to get over 8,000, so we should at least be able to stop it from getting any higher. So if we stop it now, close it now. Just sort of dropping a little bit there. Interesting. I'm also really curious to do this same experiment on the RJ series. This happened to me yesterday, flying the RJ70, and the exact same thing happened. And I had no clue how to change it. Where probably all I had to do was just turn on the packs and it would have been fixed, you know. 26,700 feet. We're 17 minutes into the flight. Our engines are engineering perfectly. We got a nice low fuel flow there. It's looking good. Alright, so while we're climbing, have a look at our, what our runway will be for landing, our arrival runway. It's going to be runway 36 right. So let's just start by getting the charts for that. So Austin charts, approach, runway 36 right, and we'll take the category 2. So this will be the airport, basically 2 runways heading north and south. Ours is the one to the right, runway 36 right. It has an ILS. Glide slope will start at, capture will start, or glide slope itself really should start at 1600 feet. Heading 355 degrees. And that's 3 nautical miles from the ILS. IHCE, and that's our ILS. Let's enter that frequency, 110.5. That's already in there, that's always nice. And then the final approach course, 355 degrees. Let's check the weather. Weather's okay, 320, 13 knots, gusting up to 24 knots, so that's also quite heavy winds. 10 statute miles visibility, fuel clouds at 30,000 feet, 25 degrees, dew point -7, altimeter 3002, but we'll check that later. So at least for now we have the correct runway. Look, and here's the cabin altitude warning again. So let's see if we can make any sense of this. So what has changed? So this is now, the differential has like dropped quite low. I believe around 8,000. It's probably the most happy. So let's see if we just find some value a little bit closer to the end, and this should go back up. The cabin altitude is 15,000. I'm not really sure. I believe this should also be at around 8,000 or something. Curious to see if the differential pressure will stay there or if it will actually not quite climbing, is it? Almost at 30,000. Differential still climbing. So now, is there a way to actually stop it at a certain point? You know, is it like when you put it in the middle of these two bars? I have zero clue. So let's get it around 8,000 and then see if we can sort of like stop the needle so that it's not going down, but it's also no longer going up. And the last time where it was, when I stopped it, it was a little bit before this position here. The cabin altitude light there, warning, is still on, so it's not happy. It is happy now, so it's around 6,000. Let's see if we can stop it from climbing now. So if we open the valve a little bit to get that little marker to go to the right, and then see if it stops or if it's doing anything. If it's doing anything, it's climbing ever so slightly. Looks like it's still a little bit climbing a little bit. Just don't want it to drop. I want it to just stop moving, basically. Otherwise, we'll just be doing this the entire flight. Also wonder if there's a way to successfully put it back on auto. I cannot imagine that would be impossible or something, you know. At least still happy, it's not complaining. Still climbing, I think, a little bit. The thing is, the more I press it to the right, I fear that the needle will start to drop, and then, you know, at least it looks sort of steady. Cabin climb and cabin altitude is 5, 6, 7, 8,000, or almost 8,000. Yeah, it's a little over 7. So let's try again if we can put it on auto. And look at that, it's on auto. So maybe the thing is, I don't know, to have it in the correct position, and then it will take, I don't know, the first time we did it, I didn't check if it was correct, if this was on, yes or no. I thought it was off. I think it was off, but... Alright, cool. So that is now looking good. So let's say very first, and you were witnessing it on the channel. So we can now die, you know. There's nothing else to live for. We've reached our highest goals. Well, basically 38,000 feet would be our highest goal for today. Okay, so we got the frequency already, 110.5. We have the runway track heading, and then we'll have Finlay, Zetko, Shu, Ballot. And if you look here, Ballot is at the initial approach fix. So we got a little way to go there, but this is all very close together. So Ballot, so if you now look at the approach, or the arrival, I should say, from WINDU. So go WINDU, Gabu, Suzy, Vader, and this is taking us downwind, I think you call it then. So who, Mary, Smurf. They got one called Smurf. That definitely deserves a slow clap. I totally love it. Smurf. Alright, so then you'll get vectors. So we just vector ourselves maybe. Yesterday I should have done that a little earlier, but that was a different approach. no way really of seeing here. Let's see. So we do see ballot. Looks like ballot is more like to this, right? So that would be nice if there was another waypoint in between, you know? It doesn't look like there is, so in that case we will arrive at Smurf at 5,000 feet and we'll just keep on going for a little bit, and then we'll do a right turn to let's say 270, and then we'll do another right turn. Basically we'll turn on the lateral navigation again, so we go from heading mode back to lateral navigation to get to the next waypoint basically, and which is probably either the initial approach fix, ballot, or it is one of these others. But we'll have a look at it now in the FNC so that we know for certain. So Memphis, that's the TXK VOR, BROBB, WINDU, Solo. Then we got Caboose, Uzi, Vader, Hoof, Mare, Smurf, and then Vectors, and then Zetku, Finley. So Zetku, Finley, so the shoe and ballot are not in there. That's also okay. Zetku, Finley, so a little bit later out, no problem at all. But we just have to keep on going down a little bit to the south. So after Smurf, we just continue, and that's what it says here, the Vectors. So we'll do that ourselves. So we have that. Now we want to see where does the glide slopes are taking us down. I believe it was really close, like 3.3 or something, 3.3 nautical miles. And runway heading 355, so the reciprocal will be 175. So runway 36 right, we'll go to the fixed page and have another circle around it. So 175 will be the radial, and then 3.3 miles will be the range link. And let's also do one at 15 miles. That could be an interesting point, like to make the right turn, you know. So if we do it like this, there you go. Cannot see it now, but if we go to the plan page, we can. So here is Memphis waypoint where we are now. So go to legs. And there is our range rings. Let's zoom in for clarity. Oh, that's a little too enthusiastic, Arkady. Alright. So, Zetku, I'm not really sure how to pronounce all those things, it's hard to see. Let's have a look here. Zetku will be the first waypoint after we get Vectors. So we go to Smurf. So that's not very long, so we can actually stay within these 15 nautical miles before we take our turn. Let's zoom in a little bit more now, and it will be a lot more clear. So it's now centered on Hoof, then it goes to Mare, and then there is Smurf for you. So instead of going Smurf direct to Zetku, that would require, after Zetku, an extremely sharp turn with way too little space to, you know, to properly line yourself up. So that's why we need a little bit more space. So after Smurf, we'll just keep on going. But we now zoom out a little bit to have a look at how the range link might be able to assist us with, you know, a little bit of situational awareness, if you will. And then we can see a little bit of a more clear picture. So basically we'll be following this line, Smurf. We could, for instance, just stay on that heading, you know, 180, we're going down. We don't have to take a right turn only at 50 miles out, you know, we can do it a little bit earlier, but at the same time, things tend to move sometimes quite fast, so in that sense, maybe let's just do that. But I wanted to say, you know, maybe there's, now 50 miles is safe, that's a good thing, let's just do it. And then we'll just turn on the localizer, and everything, the plane will just do the landing itself while we're just, doing something else. Like for instance, sleeping, getting in the back, chatting up the flight attendants, Alright, so this can go back now to map view, so we can keep on monitoring our position and everything, and the flight plan. So up next is the TXK VOR. That's 215 nautical miles, so that's a ways out. So there's nothing really going to happen in between. We can turn on data, but it will just show you the times that you will arrive there, basically. In the Airbus it will show you altitude constrictions. I believe that in the Boeing it does show you speed restrictions, but I'm not really sure. I've been using so many airplanes, like been switching, hopping airplanes, that I'm getting a little bit confused, like what is doing what. Which is also quite interesting, because it's also a way to, learn like what the basic workings are of any aircraft. Like in terms of, is it hanging, or is it my controller? That's my controller, so stand by 1 second. I think my controller wants some new juice as well. And so the clouds are actually pretty much gone. Looking ahead, looking behind, you can still see there's some clouds. Well, actually a lot of clouds, and then in front of us there's a sun. So it seems to resemble the weather conditions actually at Austin, although a lot can change in between, can be different. But it looks like something like that, saying like a few clouds at 30,000 feet, and that was basically it. So that's sort of similar-ish weather. So we'll finally need to get our transition altitude, but the decision height. And I think we can use 100 feet for the radio altitude. And there's a good chance it's either at 50 or 100 already. It's 50, so we just go up to 100. You got to be careful when dialing, because when you're dialing for a while, it will start skipping digits and it's going all of a sudden 120, 130, 140, 150, 160, and before you know it. And if that happens when you're like almost there, it is like designed to make you feel stupid. It's like the same feeling you get when you're having like these little earplugs in, and let's say they're tethered, so they're like a little wire, and you're doing something, and all of a sudden you just sort of pull them out of your ears, they're just dropping there, and you're listening to music, and all of a sudden, it's just quiet, and you see these things drop and, like swing in front of you from the left to the right, from the left to the right. I don't know, I make it sound a lot more dramatic than it actually is. Have a little look outside. See if we're not being chased or something. So this is a flight that Southwest Airlines does fly as well. Just like the flight yesterday from Miami to Tampa. And they're also using the 737-700. So in that sense, we're basically doing a real-world flight, if you will. So look in front of us. Yeah, so the weather looks pretty clean. Just a couple of clouds indeed. And what we can also do, that now that we're at cruising altitude, you can pre-dial the QNH. Like when we're getting there, we're like overly prepared, So the pressure of getting a good landing is like increasing, But I'm only kidding. It will be good. It will be fun. tablet is to the left so often, or actually let's use this one. 321, 13 knots, gusting up to 25. What's the QNH? 3,000 feet. Or 3000. Not feet. So pre-dialing it, it's in there. I believe was this. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. So you can see that right there. The radio altitude is there. The ILS is there, 110.5 with a track heading of 355 degrees. And then we need to enter our VRF speed, so we can do that as well. When we go to the inner draft page. Approach RF, and you choose the flap setting. I always like 40 degrees. And that gives us 133 knots. And when you enter it here, it will put it in here in the lower left corner of the primary flight display. So speed 140, flaps 40 degrees and speed 133. But this is not taken into account the 5 knots that we add for wind. And with the winds that we're having, I'm not sure it could actually be a little bit more. So definitely at least put in 138 knots. This 138, the total combined speed, if you will, the product, will actually be in the FMC. Right there, 138 knots for the family and then for the runway. So that at least is there. So the aircraft is following this. But I'm saying perhaps it might be required that we have a little bit of a higher speed with the winds, although it will probably not crash us or anything. It just might be a nerve-wracking approach. So if we go to the right FMC for the pilot monitoring, we could for instance monitor the, if we go to descent, so first we have to choose menu, FMC, it was in the PMDG manual, descent page, and then we can monitor the time and distance to the top of descent, so that's 365 nautical miles, and the time will be 2110 Zulu, and our current time is 20:09, so that is in exactly 61 minutes. It will start descending. So we can leave that open there, so we don't have to switch pages here. We're already switching quite a lot, which is perfectly fine, but it's always nice to at least have it, you know, by default always put it back on. I always like to put it back on the legs page, obviously, and especially during descent and stuff, that's most interesting. So I'm happy to see that the issue with the pressurization was fixed, and now let's have a look, because I'm curious, now that we were able to put it back to auto, to see what the outcome is actually. And this looks concerning to me, even though I do not really, you know, I didn't design this, I don't know how it works precisely, but when something goes in the red, it's usually, you know, it's the intellectual equivalent of a mammalian brain just freaking out because it knows it needs to freak out, you know. But just in our case, you know, we as higher primates have been conditioned like on a cognitive level, so when we see this we're like, oh, I think I should be panicking, you know. But yeah, it looks, I don't know, I would think this is high. At least we do know how to get it back if we need to, and then to, for instance, put it back on auto again, then at least we don't have so many instances of us messing around with it. So if you only need to do it every now and then, you know, yeah, we go. I'm good with that too. So 5, 6, 7, so the cabin altitude remains steady actually at 7,000 feet. Let's see. Yes, this is really confusing to me. And then differential pressure. But that's me, man. I mean, I know the KFC has zero crosses or BMOs, but the KFG has one. And if you want the automatic equivalent of the KFG major, you just have E minor. You know, and that stuff simple as hell. You know, but some of these things I need to see them a lot more often. They tend to be a little bit complex. It's really cool that it's all simulated and modeled, so you can actually learn. Well, hopefully, I would be no judge who says, no man, this doesn't work like that, because when I fly for my job, you know. So the landing elevation, let's set it as well. It's another thing we can do. Touchdown zone 480. That's pretty much the same range as it is in now. So 542 touchdown zone is at 480 feet. We could put that at 500. This went up by 500. That's not what we need. Was it like that before? Because I didn't notice, because if that was the case, maybe that's the reason why this is in the red. So it would then maybe drop again now, but we'll see that in a bit. This should not change on its own. This doesn't matter, the landing altitude, but I can imagine this might matter for now, since we're now at cruising altitude. But I will see. It is still an auto. Just let's not kill us. Say things like, what are you doing, Captain? This is highly irregular, you know? And start to sort of like talk back to you, you know, and like try to manipulate and try to control the situation on like a social level, you know, and using a little bit of intimidation, you know, and that's not good. That's not good for anyone. And especially not from a pressurization system on a 737-700, you know. So maybe it would be interesting one day to have like a series on the channel, flying from state to state in the United States. How many are there? 52, I believe. I'm not 100% certain, but around 50 states or so. That would be about 50 flights. So that could be about 25 days if you do 2 flights a day. But it could be an interesting thing to have like a certain series. I've been thinking about these things. What, you know, would that be fun? Maybe like fly like around the world, you know, things like that. Something with some sort of continuation to it, you know. So there's some sort of progress and yeah, with an element of uncertainty, like spread out over multiple streams, basically, you know, over a prolonged period, which can be interesting. Did we also have fuel prediction? I believe we do. Not here. Progress. On the progress we do. Fuel quantity. So with Austin we'll have prediction now will be 3.4 thousand kilograms. And our reserve fuel was 2.5. So that's within the acceptable limits. I believe when you have like less than 30 minutes of fuel on board, and I believe that might be around 500 kilograms on the 757, but I'm not really sure about those numbers. But when you have like 30 minutes of fuel left, then I think you should declare a mayday. And it's, you know, it's imperative that you land as soon as possible. And it's so important that they actually make you declare a mayday for it. I still can't believe that I do not get this door open, but I don't think PMDG has it programmed. Because it would usually be a click spot around here, you know. You don't have to be Einstein to figure that out. You get a new plane, you're like, oh cool, you click somewhere and you know it opens. And you click there, so this doesn't work. The thing is with GSX is it loads in passengers when the cockpit door is open. Obviously the cockpit door is now not open, but at the same time when we look from the outside, like let's get this view. When I did this earlier I could see passengers. I'll do it now and I don't see them. Wait. Oh, they're popping in. Look at that. Do I see correctly? Some of them actually close a little shades. That is so cool. I mean, it should be forbidden. People who fly in an aircraft and close a little shade to not look outside the window are crazy. Well, I can imagine if you want some sleep, you know. So yeah, this is a very steady aircraft, always in Flight Simulator. It's really grown on me a lot. When I first got it, I was like totally Airbus A320 minded, because that's actually the airplane that like, you know, like really got me into the proper, trying to learn as much as I can, you know, like on my level, whatever. My interest level and my dedication level, you know, but just to see what, you know, what's it supposed to be about, you know, and just unraveling a little bit more every now and then, and step by step. And then I got this one, and I've known basically always the 737 from FSX. That was actually my go-to aircraft there. But you know, FSX, you know, it's, you know, I don't have to say anything. So yeah, sort of I knew the layout and everything, and you know, the basics. But now I've learned a lot more about the 737. So in the beginning, after flying the A320 and then all of a sudden flying this as well, it was sort of a weird jump. But this aircraft really started to grow a lot on me. I'm getting more and more familiar with what is where, what is doing what. There's so many things I don't know, obviously, so I'm not sitting here, you know, bullshitting, but yeah, that's cool. And she's really grown on me, and she seems steady. It seems like a very steady aircraft for some reason. I don't know how to explain. No, we should actually lock the gear. Let's do that. One thing I forgot after the takeoff. I'm not sure if that's actually on the short checklist here. After takeoff, engine bleeds on. Packs auto landing gear up and off. So you see here the packs are supposed to be on, you know. Yes, they are on auto or high. And the engine bleed's already on. We did not change anything there. We can turn off the anti-ice actually. And I think this will affect our speed, or at least the engine performance. So the engines are now holding 92.8. You can hear them as well. Sometimes you might hear them spool up a little bit, but basically they're pretty steady. 92.8. So when we disengage or turn off the anti-ice, what's happening? .9, so it's not a lot. It's not supposed to really go a lot like faster or anything. It's still trying to maintain the same speed. But it will definitely affect the engine performance. that's also a reason why during takeoff usually the packs are turned off to get maximum engine performance for the takeoff procedure, because obviously the takeoff procedure needs the most, just like the landing needs, like, you know, the most critical phases, the most dynamic, where the aircraft performance needs to be, you know, 104%, if you will. I mean, up here, you know, we can do stupid little things like, you know, let's turn off the autopilot, you know, or, you know, just for the fun of it. So let's turn it back on. You know, during, so that's what they do. They usually they'll turn off the packs. Not always, not every aircraft. So I'm not really sure what kind of pages you can pull up here, because that's actually a bit where I'm getting a little bit confused and mixing up some of the other aircraft that I've been flying. You know, every aircraft has their own little, like for instance, one aircraft will have a section here instead of what this says, like weather, what is that, traffic, no? TFR, what is that, TFR? That's something weathery, but alright, anyway, weather plus turbulence, etc. So here there will be some buttons like APU, fuel page, flight controls, and I thought there should be something for that one as well, but it might be MFD, either showing engine or system. So if we choose system, we'll get hydraulic page. But is that all? Choose system again, I'll just turn it off. So it's either engine off or system or off. So that's not a lot. We do have our fuel information here, obviously, like tank number 1, tank number 2, I would guess, but let's see. And then some aircraft have some section here where you can then press a button, and then down here it will change, on the MFD it will change the change the page. But I don't think this one has it. Let's give this pilot mounting some lights as well. So here we have the ground proximity warning system, the GPWS. That was first when we turned on the power to the aircraft. This was shown keying up. System test. Let's try. It's probably doing some callouts. I don't know. Or no, I think the callouts are for the TCAS. Where is it? Here is TCAS, and this little button. They can like TRA or TA only or transponder only. And there's this test button. And we'll test this display. But it should also test the callouts.
TCAS test pass.
Alright, okay. So it's not showing, it's not doing the callouts, it's just saying that it's passed. Alright. But you have airplanes and you just test the some sort of systems like the pull up, you know, like the ground proximity warning systems, those kinds of things. Flap inhibit, gear inhibit, terrain inhibit. I'm thinking if you turn one of these on, the aircraft will not complain. Like, you know, like you should drop your gear now. So let's say you're at a certain speed, let's say you're at 140 knots. You do not have your gear down, and you go, for instance, to flaps 30. And now the aircraft is like, dude, you should really put your gear down now. You're going to create drag, and you know, I do not want to be responsible for what's going to happen. You know, I need more, and something like that. You know, or maybe the other way around. You'll extend your gear, but you do not have your flaps yet. You know, so I think it's probably that you just sort of temporarily disable them. For instance, when, like, you know, normal operations that we're doing today, that will not be the case, but there are some airports, obviously, with some exceptional terrain, you know, surrounding the basically the final approach area. So there might be instances where you will fly over a little hill that's right in the middle of your path, straight to the runway. And the pilots know about this, and it's all in the approach charts and everything, you know, and for some airports they may actually have had specific training to get a specific certificate to actually land somewhere. But the aircraft doesn't know. So the aircraft will always say, hey, I see terrain, you know, and it's going to say pull up or terrain. And so you can turn those systems off if that's needed. But, you know, it's hardly ever needed. But it's interesting to know. Maybe like when you fly to Paro, you know, VQ, PR, Paro, then you might get maybe these warnings. Or like terrain, you know, terrain. So I'm guessing if you just do this, terrain inhibit, so it will just not do the call-outs. I think that's what it is. It's a warning system, right? So if you suppress it, then that's what you can expect. So radio-wise, there's nothing for us really to worry about. I was thinking of flying on Vatsim, but there was no one online, and I specifically wanted to fly this routing. So, you know, so here we are. So no Vatsim, it's just us and the clouds. And then you can say, well, what clouds, Arkady, you know? And I say, well, how about those ones, you know, at our 7 o'clock? I'm not really sure if this actually has a checklist, because I've never used it. It actually has a full-blown checklist. Look at that. Pre-flight before just descent. So let's see descent checklist. It's only 5 items actually. Pressurization should be landing altitude. Actually already have that. Just set that to 500 feet, I believe. And speaking of which, let's minimize this for a second and let's see what the status is here now. This is still on the cruising altitude, but this needle has not changed. But the aircraft is happy, so Arkady is happy as well. Recall checked, well, we don't have to do that now. Interesting that it's still showing master caution actually. Because I would not know why. Push the reset, but or maybe this is actually normal. That could be, but there's nothing showing here. That's the whole point. But not checking it now because we're not descending. Auto brake is required, so that's the one right there. Usually just put it on 1. If you're not expecting anything, difficult or anything. That's the auto brake. Landing data, VRF minimums, and then the approach briefing. So there's not a lot there. Let's see what the approach checklist says. That's only to remind you to set the altimeters. There's not a whole lot in there, but it's what we need. But we also have a little checklist here as well. Pressurization, landing altitude, the recall checked, auto brake, you know, all those things. And actually little sort of check kind of thing to mark them as checked, you know. So let's say pressurization, landing altitude, once it's checked you go, okay. Right, so that's a white blob that we're flying to. So here they're all a lot closer together. I think that's the top of the descent right there. That blue ellipse, I'm thinking, is probably the go around. Let's have a look at the go around. Where is hook? Anyway, so what I was saying for the go around missed approach, climb to 1,000 feet. So we're already at like 500 feet. And then climbing, a right turn to 3,000 feet on a heading of 030 degrees, and outbound the CWK VOR, radio 088, to hook 17 DME from CWK and hold. The CWK is VOR. This one's Tentex VOR. Yeah, that looks to be the same, right? Well, sort of. It's not. It's a bit hard to say. I'll take that back. So this is basically VOR based, if you will. So if you can only do VOR flying, I guess you could sort of fly this yourself manually. But I've heard that this is very, very what's the word? Like very intensive. Like you have a lot to do if you want to do that manually, fly a holding. So in the Boeing 757, we do not have to worry about that. If you follow the flight plan after the runway, then there's 1,000 for climbing, and then you, I'm not really sure how the intercept works, so you probably will have to, you get vectors to hook, and then you hold. And there is, in some aircraft there's a hold page, this one as well, there's a hold page. Sorry. And yeah, you can set your numbers here. So this holding pattern is 88 degrees and 268 degrees. So the radial is there. You can say if it's a left turn or a right turn. The lag time. It's yeah. So yeah, you don't have to do that manually. It's, for me, it's already like it's a lot different than, you know, simply flying from A to B to C to D to E. You know, it's more like getting into the systems and how they work and how does the aircraft work. It's pretty cool. It's, that's the holding pattern. So yeah, climb to 1,000 feet and then you right turn to 3,000 feet, heading 030. So that would be this line here. So climbing 1,000 feet and then a right turn, heading 030 degrees. And then where does the let's see, outbound on the CWK VOR. So the VOR is not actually in the picture, is it? It's more like there or whatever, like off the screen. I'm seeing this correctly. Radio 088. And that should take you to hook. And that's 17 miles from the Centex VOR. Stand by 1 second while I feed my controller. Sometimes it gets a little bit hungry, and when it does not get its food in time, it may start getting a little bit cranky, and it will sort of stop functioning sometimes, you know, like, hey man, I'm not doing this. I get a little bit rebellious, you know, but it's understandable. I mean, don't get me wrong, anyone who's in my hands is lucky. So let's get that straight first. But, you know, to be constantly fiddled around with and, you know, being sneezed upon, it's a hard life. And that's why you see so many of these controllers running away lately, you know. It's like a trend, controllers leaving apartments, children's bedrooms, anywhere. It's sad, you know, it's a sort of a shift in society where you see these things happen. You know, these controllers, and sometimes they find each other and they start controlling each other. You know, they get into some conflict. So fuel still looking good. There's a slight imbalance between the left and the right tanks. I'm not sure when to crossfeed, but let's just play around with that and see if that actually will eventually even out the distribution of the fuel. Yoke down a little bit. So the descent profile, we're now on our way to TXK VOR, but it's already actually in 3 miles. Then up next will be BROBB, flight over 380. After BROBB we'll start descending to WINDU 305. Well, the top descent is still a way out, 194 miles. The altitude that we'll be descending to will be this one at Finley, 1600 feet. And that is where the glide slope starts to actually take us down. But that's quite close, 3.3 miles from the runway. So we get our vectors, we go 180, and then we turn to Gidzenko, Finley, and then the runway. So Finley, 1600 feet, so we can put that in the box now. The airplane's not doing anything until it's overflying the top of descent point, or until we tell it to descend. 1600 feet. And in real life, you know, you get step descents, you know. This will actually also do step descents, but at least we don't have to. And that's really nice with the Boeing. You don't have to sort of. Well, you do monitor it, but in the Airbus you actually have to manage it. You know, you're managing it yourself, and you also have these values in the MCD, it's called in the Airbus. You also have these, you know, these same values, slightly differently, but it's sort of the same. You know, you have your altitudes, obviously. But you just set the altitude after altitude after altitude, and after every altitude change you pull the little button and you say like open descent, and it will start going down again. And in the Boeing you just go vertical navigation, and I tell you where to go, and it's going to say, alright, I'm going to go to that altitude, but when I encounter a constraint in the meantime, I'm going to honor it and respect it. And that's really nice, so you don't have to worry about that as much. You know, you can just see if you're on the correct approach path, you're not too high or not too low, if there's any deviation to that. And you'll just monitor your speed, and you also check your speed here in the FMC, what the advised speed is at a certain waypoint. And that's quite a nice system. So yesterday, flying to Tampa, I noticed the 737, this very same aircraft, it did not really want to lose speed on basically the final approach bit. For the rest of the whole descent, everything was like spot on. It was perfectly fine. There was nothing wrong. There were some value differences, but that's normal. It's dynamic, but it wasn't too great. But then actually on the final approach, I got the impression like it does not really want to slow down or anything. Yeah, so that's something I want to. It's not something that happens a lot, so I'm still not sure what the problem was. Usually it's me. Yeah, that's an interesting thing to nonetheless to try and be aware of. Because I must admit, I'm not really sure if I have to put it on N1. I'm just not really sure what is the difference between putting it on N1, putting it on speed. It looks like neither of them are now selected and on. If you look here, it says FMC speed, so that should mean it's following the speed that the advisory speed from the FMC, basically. And you can also see there's nothing in the box, so I'm guessing whenever there's something in this box up here, either of these will go on. But how it works exactly, I don't know. If I were to hypothesize out loud, N1, which is your N1 here, basically your idle, or your throttle, I mean, yeah, maybe it's just sort of like an override, so that you can then use your throttle and it will listen to that. It would be perfect if you sort of set it to something, you can leave it alone, you know. Well, I don't know. And speed, well, I can imagine there's also a little line, so you're actually putting in the speed there. So that's probably it, right? Maybe just answering my own question, but let's not assume, so I'll look that up one day. But that's what it looks like to me. So N1 probably the throttle, like throttle related, and speed is just the panel related, I can imagine. And yeah, but it's an interesting thing to look, because sometimes all of a sudden on approach I will see their speed in this window. So yeah, it's an interesting thing to look for, and I might forget to look at it during the actual approach. There might be other things going on, but you know, at least we're recording, so then I can look back and freeze frame for whatever is needed, you know, and have a look like, okay, what's happening there and when did it go off, and all of those things. And then one day I will do an entire flight with my eyes closed. Or for instance, do an approach, like a final approach, with just these two screens, and not looking at the runway visually at all. Just going purely on instruments, as if there's zero visibility outside, you know. Because it's absolutely doable. You just follow, you just do what you need to do, and just practice a lot and know what to change when you're practicing, you know. So I'm thinking terrain-wise, actually, this, you know, this route is not too interesting. It all seems pretty flat. There's a little bit of water there in front of us, for instance, but you know, seems a little bit desolate, I guess. But not in the romantic way like you might see with big and heavy mountains. More like, you know, anyone really live here? You know. Let's see if we can see anyone living here. One of those might be structures, might be houses. That one, maybe. You know, but it's a big place, United States of America. CMD still on. So BROBB is up next, and that's in 115 miles. And then not long after that we'll start descending. Fuel wise are okay. But yeah, I wanted to see there's still slight imbalance, even though the crossfeed is on, so I'm not really sure if that is the function of the crossfeed. I actually would assume it is, to like even, you know, even the distribution. There's also a lot of buttons I actually never use. Let's just close this. That I actually never use. For instance, source, auto, all on 1, on 2, all. So for the displays, control panel, both. FMC, IRS, let's not touch that at all now. VHF nav, and the old temperature, always put that on. And what was this again? Alternate flaps. I believe there is an option in the Boeing. It's probably like an emergency or like a contingency kind of thing. If the flaps don't work, and they're never going to work again until you get them fixed by an engineer, I believe there is still an option to like at least like once extend your flaps or something. So there might be some remaining pressure in there or something. I'm not really sure how that works. And it would force the flaps out to a certain degree or whatever. And I think you can then also not like retract them. But I'm not really sure. I know that when you use the gravity, well, I like to call it gravity assist, but that's not it. But here under this little hatch, if you will, here's the alternative gear extension, or the gravity gears extension. I think you could look at it with the manual. It says here landing gear manual extension pull. If you do that, then the gear will drop. So let's say both of your engines fail. So your generators are doing nothing. There's no energy. And let's say your APU is not going to help you. You have no pressure, no hydraulics. There's hydraulic failure, for instance, and you have no way of extending your gear, but you do want to land, right? And so that's when you can use the manual gear extension like that. And when you do that, also, well, not also for a fact, the landing gear should then be retracted. Basically, it should be fixed by an engineer. Let's say if you have to do a go-around with that, you can, I guess, but you will not be able to retract your landing gear. So you'll be flying your entire go-around with your gear extended. So I'm not sure if that is the same for the alternate flaps. I heard something about it once, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Spoilers, not really sure. I don't want to touch it. They look to be on. Flight control, standby rudder off. Standby hydraulics. So there is a little bit of standby things, or backup things, if you will. And then what else? Well, we've looked at the pressurization system already. Cockpit voice recorder. I know there's a little testing button. I think this little light should go on. That it's working. It's able to record. These are the door lights. One of the doors is open. These will illuminate. Not sure about the voice recorder. It's on auto and doesn't let you change it. Just clicks back. Cold, cold, hot, hot. Air temperature, supply duct, passenger cabin. So these are things I never really mess around with. But good to see. I'm happy to see that the cabin altitude warning is actually fixed. And first we had to do it manually, put it on manual, and then play around with it. And at some stage it looked okay, and the message was gone, the warning was gone. And then we were actually able to put it back onto auto, because the first time I tried it, that failed. It said auto fail, and there's actually a little bulb dedicated to that as well, auto fail. That went on. And then the second attempt, it worked, and that's where we are now. see our little circle around the runway, and we see our extended runway center line. And then I guess it makes sense that this is the blue ellipse there. That is to the that's where the VOR is, I think. At least that's a holding pattern. But this looks messy for now. This will dissolve a little bit more as we get closer. Can we zoom in maybe one more? Let's see what that's gonna look like. That's too little info. So we'll use 160. So the alternate altimeter, or the altimeter, ADF or VOR. Well, let's have some fun. Let's see. Well, I'm already having fun, but what is the VOR? The Centex VOR 112.8. Let's see if we can receive it. 112.80. Don't think so. VOR 1, VOR 2. It should be on VOR 2, I think, because this is on the NAV2 radio. But then I guess if this is now on VOR, you can also put it on ADF. So if you put it on VOR, then the needle here should start going, you know. Well, it's interesting. We might see, might pick it up. It is, well, 300 miles out. So some of these VORs have like a range of 250 miles. Quite a lot, I guess. You know, some only have like 50. They're like quite weak, but the really strong ones I've seen, I believe it was like 250 miles or something. Right, so 20:54 Zulu. So that's 15 minutes until the top of descent. So definitely not too early to do another weather update. Get another weather update. Do a weather check. 1953 Zulu. So that's about 1 hour old now. So I think this will probably refresh in the next couple of minutes. So we can check what the current altimeter setting is, 3000 or 3000. There's BROBB. There's no VOR yet. Or is there? Wait. DME 18.8. What's picking up? VOR 1. Maybe there's. I'm not really sure what this is picking up, but something that's 18.7 nautical miles from us, and it's not the ILS. The ILS we entered in the NAV1 radio. This is the NAV1 radio. We entered the ILS. And identifying here as the VOR for the 112.8 on NAV2, which is called VOR2 here on the NAV display. So we flew over something that has the same frequency. I don't think this has a red nav page or nav red. What's the N1 limit page? Let's never look here. Huh. Okay. Okay, that exists. Back to the legs. Let's so a couple of more minutes, and then we can probably get a weather update. So 1953 Zulu, still the same weather. I'll be getting myself a new drink, so I'll be back in a minute. In the meantime, let's maybe have some of the window views, and I'll be right back. Alright, so looks like the airplane's still flying. I'm afraid everybody has jumped. And that's not the first time. This is not the first time. Sometimes they jump, you know. Those textures look horrible. We got the little peaky window here. These are always funny when you're in an aircraft. You want to look through these tiny little windows. Well, at least have something, you know. At least see that we're not underwater or something, you know. Right, let's get back inside. CMD still on. There's no VORs yet. Top of descent is now on the nav display as well. It's about 11 minutes until we'll start descending. We don't have to do anything but monitor, as I said earlier, because we already have the altitude in the box. And our fuel 4.2. Let's get a weather update. 1953. That's still the same. 25 knots gusts and 13, so 320. That's about a 40-degree, well, headwind, crosswind, headwind. So we might feel that. That's right, I forgot something, so I will get ourselves here at the window, and I'll be right back. Alright, so everything should be good now. So let's get back to the flight deck. 2102, 38,000 feet, 48 miles to go, 2110. That's our top of descent. Get another weather check. 2053 Zulu, so that's updated. The wind is now 330, 13 knots, gusting up to 20 knots, and varying between direction between 360 knots degrees and 300 degrees. 10 second miles, visibility, a few clouds at 30,000 feet. Okay, not sure if I can tell. But, you know, we're not there yet, but actually that should be to the left with that direction. And what else? 26 degrees, nice and warm. Altimeter 29er. That's what we'll take from this. So the altimeter is now set for 2999. And then standing by for a left turn from BROBB to WINDU. And here's already our extended runway center line. So in theory we could just go straight and vector ourselves onto this line and we'll end up at the runway. Weather-wise, it's looking fine. The meter, except some some winds. And let me remember to try and record my landing, because I recently downloaded a new program for that, and it has like the cutest name, Sky Dolly. And when you go to their website for like you know, like the user manual, they have this little this little dolly, this little sheep as their symbol, like their mascot. It looks quite cute, and so far it seems like quite an efficient recorder. It's just like the other one that I've been using. These recorders do. They do not record like streaming. They do not record like visuals, like video. They record basically the numbers, that the parameters and the values that are changing. So if you set your flaps to 1, you know, that's a value change. That is noted somewhere, coded somewhere, and that's what it records. So it records the engine output, the position of certain buttons and levers, such as the flaps that I mentioned, and the speed brakes, for instance, you know. And that's what it will record. And then after recording, when you play back, it will basically command these the same output from the simulator. So it's basically doing it all over again, but this time it is repeating the values that are recorded. And yeah, so usually when you want to use that, you should turn off the realism settings. So for like I have like full reality, like, you know, I mean, like the hardest of the hardest. So there's but then you have to put it on no crashes, because it will basically, you know, let's say you just landed and you rewind your flight, it will physically rewind it through the world, but the forces that are acting upon the aircraft, such as like, I don't know, pressure and speed, wind speed and everything, they still exert power, if that's the word, on your aircraft. So it might actually detect like a crash, like you overstress the aircraft, stuff like that. So it is always advisable when you use those kinds of tools to temporarily turn off crash detection if you have that, you know. If you have that, like me, you should turn it off, because I always have it. You should turn it. What is it? Well, you got what I'm saying. You don't want it to crash, so you put it on the safest mode. So that's the thing to remember. But it is not running. But it's not recording. It's running in the background. So situation 8. So it's only a couple of minutes now. 10 miles, and like 2 minutes till it reset. So we're now 1 hour 38 minutes into the flight. We got 3.9 thousand kilograms of fuel. And what's the current fuel prediction? Let's look up over here. 3.5 when we land. That's very good. Let's go back to the legs page. We also set our VRAP speed 133, plus 5 is 138. There is a variance here, as you can see, and that's the VOR, the CWK. That's 94 miles. So if I put this on ADF, then I think the needle is gonna go back. That's cool. So you can use VOR flying as well. Okay, so I think here is our top of descent. The nose will start to go down soon. 1.8 miles. Engines are at 90.6 now. Here's the top of descent. Like a minute or two, we'll probably turn on the seatbelt sign. You can see we're on profile. See, it's a bit high. You can check on your test page. 45 feet high, 44, 47. I'll leave it on legs for now. On the way to WINDU, that's at 6 miles. And up next, at WINDU we should be at 30,400 feet. So in the next 5 miles or 4 miles we should make it. Descending at 3,550 feet per minute. And that's our nose down situation. Detecting some traffic to the left and to the right of us from the TCAS system. airport. We have this on here as well. Solo. 218 knots. 50230. So ether of below 230 and ether above 70,000 feet. And speed 280. We're now a little bit low. Okay, so time is 21:13 school. And we are progress stage. 21:34. So we're still on the seatbelt sign. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We have started our descent. We have turned on the fast and seatbelt signs, so please return to your seat and put on your seatbelt. We have started our descent into the Austin International Airport. We'll be arriving there in approximately 20 minutes. The temperature at our destination is 26 degrees centigrade. And it looks to be a clear day today. It's just a little bit wind, so make sure to hold on to your hats. On behalf of Southwest Airlines and on behalf of the crew, thank you for flying. Alright, so we managed to make a fool out of ourselves once more. Always proud of those moments. So we're still standard pressure. The transition flight level is 180. So we have our new altimeter settings in there, the QNH. That's probably not going to change. It looks like it's an hourly update, so 330 knots, gusting up to 20. So what's the pressurization situation doing? That's definitely changing. It's in a cabin climate negative. So like 4,000 feet per minute for the descent rate, if you will. And these values still work. Very good. So that's really actually a first, as I said earlier, because I've had this happen every now and then, and I would always think like, what is it, a bug, you know, probably I'm missing something. And but what I usually just do is just click on the little button there for the altitude horn cutout. It'll just stop annoying you with that sound. But the bulb would not go out, you know. So I'm happy to see that actually worked out now. So we got the stupid bulb to get out, and I corrected my stupid mistake, I should say. If I'm gonna call someone stupid, let's start by calling me stupid before I call anyone else stupid, which is the entire world. So 280 knots, on our way to Kabul. Legs. Speed 250 knots and at or above 13,000 feet. Perfectly on profile. Descent checklist. Pressurization set, landing altitude set, recall checked. Auto brake Again, set those to 1. Landing latest here have a minimums. We should have this 110.5, 355 is the approach course. VRAF speed 133 and we have 138 in the FMC. What else did we need here now? VRAF speed, yeah, that's it. Approach briefing completed. Southwest do not have the most subtle livery, if you ask me. It is quite loud and dominant, and there's lots of contrast. I guess from a marketing standpoint that really works. I don't know what image you would like to project as Southwest Airlines, but that's what it looks like to me. But it's very recognizable. That's for sure. It's very, very recognizable. And they have spamming their southwest.com there with a little heart. That's pretty cute. Let's get back inside. We're 1 hour 45 minutes into the flight. The standard is lit up. It's yellow. And we're below 18,000, so let's go to from standard to local pressure. We check on both sides. So Susie in 2 miles, 250 knots, 16,000 feet, and we're doing that exactly. So finally something that tries to resemble civilization. It's interesting to see where my friend lives. As I said, who lives in Austin. Okay, so now on our way to Vader. 9 miles, and at Vader we need to be at 8,000 or above, and speed still 250 knots. So we should get ready. Let's have a look. Smurf is 175. Let's pull up the approach chart, or the arrival chart, if you will. So Smurf. So basically we're just flying 176, 175, and then for vectoring we'll just continue on that course. And as you've seen, we made a range link around the runway of about 15 nautical miles. So once we get to the end of that, we'll take a turn to the right to 270, and then we will take another right turn to like 330 degrees or something, and we turn on the localizer, and actually we turn on navigation, the lateral navigation. That's what we'll do. So for Smurf 175, for the vectors, let's put in the heading 175 in the box. It's sitting there chilling, waiting for us to use it, just like we like it. You know what I'm saying? You know. Got my own technique down and everything. They ain't no chicken and shit, you know. Okay, I do not get paid for this, just so you know, okay. So that will basically be our final approach. So 8,000 feet in 1 mile. We are above it, so that is not necessarily optimal. 6,000 or above, and then 5,000 at Smurf. And 5,000 hard restriction. So how far are we from Smurf? So 16, 22, so 27, 28 nautical miles or so. Let's see if we can do vertical speed for a little bit. Well, that's maybe a little bit excessive. Let's do 3,300. That brings us at the hoof at 1,600, so that's not what we need. But this will just expedite our descent a little bit, and then we can turn it off after a while. But at least we've lost a little bit of altitude, because sometimes these differences might be big. Like at Suzy, between 10,000 or 16,000 feet, it's still 6,000 feet that you'll have to lose if the aircraft feels like, well, we're at 16,000 feet, let's chill here, And then all of a sudden we'll need to go to exactly 5,000. And then it's like, oh, just think ahead, So it does not always work out perfectly, the VNAV. And neither do I. Alright, so we're at 8,900, so let's go back to VNAV. And now you can see, well, below the profile. We were actually on the profile, so in that sense we were okay, but maybe I'm just panicking. So 8,200, let's turn on the landing lights, since we're below 10,000 feet. And let's start up the APU. And let's also start the recording, the Sky Dolly, a little recording sheep. In case it's a cool landing, then I can review it. The speed is definitely went up, so we're overspeeding, not for the aircraft, but we are for being below 10,000 feet. There's a 250 knot speed limit here, and looks like we should be at 240 even. Let's get the speed brakes out immediately. Brake required, it's saying as well. So 240 knots. Retracting speed brake again. So here's the first ranging, so we should now be 50 nautical miles from the ILS. That's correct, it's 14.6 up here in the top left corner. So now turning 176 degrees, I believe, or 175. On our way to Mare. So then after Smurf it will probably just, see, 177 Mare, 175 Smurf, 175 heading, back to, in heading mode, okay. So, interested now to see if the aircraft, the autopilot, knows and will actually put itself on heading select. I'm not sure if it's going to do that, or if this is basically saying you should put it yourself on heading because you're getting vectors now. That would make sense too, right? So what's our speed? We should be at 220 knots in 2.7 nautical miles. Usually around 2 miles or so distance it will start decelerating. We got like 20 knots to lose. But this here gives us a very good representation of what we want to do. So 210 knots. FMC speed So there should be no speed in the box. We're on the descent profile. So the landing checklist, altimeters, the approach altimeters, well, we have set the altimeters. Engine switches should be at continuous. I think I just left them there. Check. Speed brake armed. I think we can do that. And then landing gear down, flaps, green lights. So let's carry on now. Speed is now on arm. FMC speed arm, retard. Okay, so it's sort of doing things there. P-brakes armed. We are 0.3 miles from Smurf. So what's going to happen now? Vector. So what's the mode doing? It's still lateral navigation, showing lateral navigation here as well. Nothing to lose. We could probably keep it on this for a little bit. What we could maybe also do then, since it is maintaining this current heading, 177 degrees, we could put this to, it was a right turn, right? So let's say 270. We're not going to turn yet. And if we zoom out, so we could, the first waypoint would be right there. So maybe I'll zoom in for that so you can see a little bit better. That's too much. So the first waypoint, next waypoint Z2. That's a very awkward angle. This we can make, but then to have this short period, this short distance to, you know, to keep on turning and aligning ourselves, that's not going to work. So we just vectored basically further south. Looks like it's quite windy here, man. Let's see, VNF path. We should maybe for now do alt hold. And then immediately the speed comes in the box. That's interesting to see. But that's okay. We're still on LNAV. Yeah, just so we do not end up flying this terrain all of a sudden at 1600 feet. Or at least what's up next would be 2100 feet. And I believe it was still descending. So we should not really do that. So I think this is okay. Aircraft's now going for 210 knots. And that is fine. Is holding altitude at 3,100 feet and still following LNAV and CMD. The autopilot is still on. Speed brake is armed. Auto brake is on 1. We do not have to extend our flaps yet, but we will in a little bit. So for now we're basically just creating a little bit more distance. That's why the arranging of 15 nautical miles can come in handy as a sort of visual reminder, representation of the situation. And what also really helps is that even though we do not see the runway or the waypoints leading up to the runway, we do see the extended center line, so we know not to cross it. So that's also another, yeah, I'm really happy that I learned that. And I've been applying it ever since, because it really helps so much, you know. Okay, so just a little longer, and then we'll take a turn to the right. We are still on lateral navigation, altitude hold, and speed mode. So the speed in the box there. So let's do heading select. So we turn to the right. And I guess we could probably arm the localizer. at least it's armed. So Vorlok White, we're 15 nautical miles from the ILS. And looking at this rate, it probably keep on turning. Let's go 330. So we're in like a 30-degree angle. Let's go 331, a little over it, allowing the localizer to be captured. It spreads out like basically then like 60 degrees left and right, so 30 left, 30 right. So this will set us up, and what we can also do is now go back to, if we go back to LNAV, first let's select the ZQ and do a direct to ZQ, execute, and then lateral navigation, and it is now going straight for the waypoint that's going to line us up anyway. So that's good. We do need to rearm the localizer, I see. So that's armed again, and we're back to MCP speed. Wait, it says MCP speed. What we do, so now we have a combination going on, where it still says MCP speed. Oh wait, MCP, that's not FNC. Yeah, no, that's my bad. So MCP is the master control panel, I believe it is, or something like that. Or the master center panel, something along those lines. So it's listening now to our input. What happens if we turn it off? Are we allowed to? Are we capable? Looks like it. Just says arm. It would have to go at 166. Well, let's just do this ourselves, just to be sure. So let's go to speed mode then, and then 166 knots. We'll have to extend flaps. Here's the flaps up speed. We're 10 miles out. The localizer is not yet captured. Let's turn on the runway turn-off lights now, and the taxi lights as well. There's the glide slope coming up. So let's see if we can arm the approach. Flap 1, flap 2, flap 5, and we can lower our speed a little bit more. You can see that right here. Even more, I guess. So we're 7.6 miles out. LNAV DOR localizer. It's not armed. It's a shame. I tried so hard. What the hell is going wrong? Alright, so what we're looking at, we can do visual, that's not a problem. So let's for now stay on this track. Flaps 10. Flaps 15, and we set the speed. We're 6 miles out. Drop the gear. So I'm guessing that this, you could override that with the gear inhibits, I would think. We're captured on the localizer. Oh, my bad. I'm missing a bunch of flaps, I think. Okay, so let's go for the final approach speed, 138. Let's go flaps full. But we'll need to turn off the autopilot and just stand flight now, because we are actually a little bit high. So basically just trying to get low enough for the glide slope. But as you can see, the speed is picking up. So now at 1500 feet.
Sync rate.
Okay, so our minimums are coming up. A little bit low actually now. Look at that.
Airspeed low. Airspeed low.
Oh shit. Fortunately the engines are working.
100.
Alright man, let's set this baby down.
50. 30.
Idle, flare. That's not the prettiest of landings, but we're down. Reverse is out. And let's crash into that general aviation aircraft in front of us. Okay, so it's a little jet. So welcome to Austin. Flaps up. And the speed brake up as well. So that was interesting. I suspect that maybe the turn to the right and then choosing to go straight for that waypoint was not a good call, because it was going a straight line to that waypoint, and then still you're not really increasing your chances of getting into the sweet spot for intercepting the localizer. So that's hopefully lesson learned. I think that's something to be learned there, and that's that among other things. And also another thing maybe to check is when you're descending, what I showed you, we have like 6,000 feet difference at certain waypoints. You have to be below a certain altitude and above a certain, and that difference can be like 6,000 feet, which is quite a lot. But you could see on final approach, like 2,000 feet is like a huge difference there, you know. And so you can change the values and to make them like absolute values rather than, you know, so you make them hard constraints for yourself. So maybe that's an interesting thing to check when looking at the approach charts, because sometimes the aircraft will just choose the highest altitude. Basically, it will then have to deal with the problem later, you know. So it's, you know, it's never gonna work. So this is Austin. Let's turn off the landing lights. That aircraft is floating. Yeah, there's a big hole there. So let's watch our speed before we take this turn. So some of these airports can be really tricky, terrain-wise. In-flight simulator, I mean. Just like that big gap, or the big hole here underneath the FedEx. Appears to be quite busy here. So there's a spot for us. We'll stop, parking, brakes, set. So this is us at Austin Airport in Texas. So we still have both wings, we still have both engines, we still have both pilots, and we still have all of, okay, this lady looks a little bit scared. Ma'am, you have landed, you have nothing to worry about, don't you worry, you will see your son really soon, okay? Thank you very much for flying, yes. Just such a cool angle. Alright, man. Survived another flight. So thank you very much for checking. Everybody stay funky. Don't go breaking no motherfucker's heart. And I'll see you at the next video. Bye bye.